Before the magical world of movies and cinema were invented, and long before Hollywood became famous, there was a contraption called the magic lantern. Yes, rich families around the world in the late 1890s to the early 1900s would gather around in their parlor room where they would slip these glass slides into the magic lantern box, and magically beautiful images were projected onto the wall. You can only imagine their amazement at this mystical new technology. Well, today we are going to look at some of these antique slides. They are truly amazing. They are a glimpse at historical images of time long ago. I present to you our collection of glass slides. Now this one could be from Camp Lewis in Tacoma, Washington. We're not sure about the bottom one there. We know that they are from 1917. Now the top one is the kitchen crew at Camp Lewis, Washington. That was near Tacoma, Washington. Now in 1917, all across America, the United States government opened up camps all across the nation. I'm going to be showing you a few slides from different locations, even one from Waco, Texas. But this is interesting. This is the kitchen crew from Camp Lewis. Now remember, Camp Lewis would now be called Fort Lewis. These glass slides were all the rage in the early 1900s. I mean, there was no movies. There were no movies. There was no Hollywood. What do we have here? I think this is the hospital. Remember the flu. The flu was vicious in 1917. Many people died of the flu. Came back from across the pond from Europe, the big war. Now it says here, just arrived, Camp Lewis. Again, this is Camp Lewis. They have a big lake up there. I believe the lake is called American Lake. We'll keep on going. Some of them were even hand colored. We've talked about that before, hand embellished. Here we have a soldier being looked after by the nurse inside a cathedral church. Beautiful. Think of this, 1917. Think of this piece of artwork, a photograph on glass, and then you would put it in the magic lantern and just project it up on the wall. It would have been amazing technology back in 1917, even as early as the late 1800s. Again, we have Camp Lewis in Washington. Have the tents. The doughboys. Now the American boys that they took off the farm and sent to Europe for World War I were called the doughboys. Now here's the interesting one from Camp MacArthur in Waco, Texas. This camp was named after Douglas MacArthur's father. Douglas MacArthur, the great general of World War II, was his father. Died right before World War I. They named it after him. And after World War I, Camp MacArthur was shut down, and they used all the materials to set up buildings and structures in other locations, like along the border. I believe a lot of the buildings at Camp MacArthur were tore down and used along the border stations for buildings there. And of course, Camp MacArthur was taken over by the city of Waco. Very, very interesting. Glass slides. So here we are again, and we're going to open the box to see what kind of mystical treasures we can find. Here we have the magic lantern glass slides. Again, these come from the late 1800s, early 1900s. Here we have, some of them said novelty slides. Others had the name of the photographer on there. We'll get to that later. The ones we're going to see today are from around 1917, World War I era. They are amazing. So let's go ahead and take a look. Now, I did not count them all up, but we must have at least over 50 of them in here. If you're wondering what the retail price on over 50 of them would be, it would be well over $1,000 or $2,000. Okay, here, this is an interesting slide. It's basketball under the auspices of the YMCA at Camp Gordon, Atlanta. Now, Camp Gordon is now called Fort Gordon. Again, these would be 1917. This one is made by Edward Henry Kemp. Kemp was born in 1868. He died in 1948. He was a famous photographer whose photos were published in the Sunset magazine between 1898 and 1914. He had a studio in San Francisco, and he traveled extensively all over the world creating this beautiful artwork. As we said, he was a photographer, and he put his work on these glass slides, and you would slide these glass slides into the magic lantern. Some of them were hand tinted or hand painted like this, sometimes called hand embellished. Now here we have a Canadian baseball player sliding home. So today you have seen images of basketball playing in 1917, basketball and baseball.